Okay, welcome back, guys. I am super excited to have the wonderful one and only Gráinne O'Keefe in the house cooking some food. Grainne is head chef at Clanbrassil House and also culinary director of Bujo up in Sandymount. So I'm super excited to have her here today. What are we going to do, Grainne?
So we're doing a steak pitta.
Steak? Just steak?
Yeah, just steak.
Just steak, just steak.
No, so this is a really special steak. It is a whiskey aged steak from Higgins Butchers.
Great.
So it's something that he developed with me for the restaurant Clanbrassil House.
Nice.
So we're the only ones to have it. It took like a year developing it. And
Lovely.
it's aged, so it's Côte de Boeuf aged in whiskey for 80 days.
80 days.
In his dry aging chambers and then sent into us.
Any old whiskey?
Teeling whiskey.
Teeling whiskey,
so it's actually our neighbours up in Clanbrassil House. Like
Lovely.
Teeling's just around the corner, and they have the distillery, and like there's just kind of little local connection there.
Yeah,
And it was also like we didn't pick them because they're beside us. It actually we did trials with different whiskies, and theirs was the best for it. So.
I'm super excited that when we said we cook something together, I said I'll do the handy number I'm going to make a simple pitta, so this is easy for me. And then Grainne talked about cooking Côte de Boeuf, and I think when it comes to meats, I definitely believe, and definitely going from even my background and everyone else's background there, people are afraid to cook meat or afraid to ask what they should be doing with a steak or something like that. Or do you turn it one side and let it cook and flip it once, or what way do you cook?
So it's actually one of the most asked questions I get, say like direct messages or just anyone. Is always how do you cook a steak, like a Côte de Boeuf. So you can get like a minute steak or fillet steak in the supermarket, and it's like kind of easy. And then people get kind of intimidated when it's a big piece. So I always go with the 3 T's. And I literally
what
just
are the 3
T's?
Go. Give me the 3 T's.
So first one is tempering. Tempering is when you take out, and I do this with all meat, all fish, even veg. You take it out at least an hour before you cook it, so it gets to room temperature. And that when you put it into the pan, the oil doesn't drop in temperature. And it's just a much nicer cook, and then by the time you rest it. So have you ever cooked a steak and then when you cut into it, it's got that like, the middle part is really red, and you've got the brown around it, that's because it wasn't tempered properly. So temper is the first T. Second T is turning.
Turning.
Always turn your steak. This is so important, and a lot of people do it. So they do put the steak on the pan, leave it on the pan for like 10 minutes or something. Turn it. It's got a really beautiful crust on it. But it's like, that's why you get that grey. And a lot of people don't turn the meat enough. It's like if you think about rotisserie, about rotisserie chicken, because it's constantly turning, constantly moving. That's why it's cooked so good and it's so juicy. Last T then is time to rest.
Time to rest.
So you get a resting rack, never rest it directly on the surface, and just leave it. Usually there's a rule of like half the cooking time is the resting time. So if it takes 20 minutes to cook, you rest for 10. If it takes an hour to cook, you rest for half an hour. And it's like just as important as the other two, but probably even more important. Resting is like, makes all the difference, makes it independent.
And the meat, so you've been working with Rick for...
Rick, so Rick is the butcher for Clanbrassil House. Like we've used him as a supplier since we opened. He's been with us since the beginning. And I came across Higgins Butchers. So I've been working in restaurants for like 11 years. But came across Higgins when I was working at Bastable, which is our sister restaurant. And one sec. So with this, I always start with the fat side. So you want to render this. And then what that does is the fat comes out. And then it's almost like also a cooking oil as well, cooking fat. You don't want it to be like, you see videos and people, it's like sizzling really hard and there's smoke and stuff, and it looks cool, but it's not actually like great because the oil is burning and you're not getting like, that nice render that you need to get like a really...
So rendering it down rather than just burning the life out of it in a sense.
Yeah, like it takes longer, but it's like, way more worth it in the long run.
So I've definitely got the handy number then. So like the pitta for me is super easy, and it's going to go well really. It's going to go well really good. This is super simple pitta. It's a sourdough based pitta. simple ingredients, flour, salt and water. And all I've done is I've rested this overnight, and simply while Grainne, when she's coming to cook in the steak, I'm going to pop in the wood-fired oven. It doesn't make a difference what oven you have at home. All I'm looking for you to do is very, very simply, rolling pin and the dough. This is about 120 grams of dough. It suffices for what we needed. I'm going to pat it down. I'm just going to hit it with a rolling pin. Lots of flour so it doesn't stick. And hit it again. And all I'm going to do is bring it to look something like this. So I definitely got the easy job.
Are you done now?
That's pretty much, well, I'll put it in. I'm going to put it in the wood-fired oven and take it out.
You may as well go on a little break and come back
I
when
can
this
go
is
on a
done.
break. I can go on a break.
I think it was actually, when we were talking about it, you were like, Pitta, yeah, Pitta would go really well.
Yeah, I was pushing the Pitta. You were leaning towards.
You're not even making the dough. You were
leaning towards the ciabatta, and I was like, I'll bring her back with a Pitta.
Yeah, I was like, I want to pick the most awkward thing I can. Like,
I think, in a sense, is when we look towards bread as well, and I'm always banging on, and I've probably banged on to you a couple of times about bread is very simple, but it's how you take it from being something simple to anything. So this could be a sourdough loaf if it was 900 grams, and to be able to cut that down and make a Pitta bread, or make a small cracker, or make a pizza base.
Basically, anyone can open up a bakery, is what you're saying.
Anyone can open up a bakery. There you go. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
Okay, so you can see this. So, you know, usually, and you're looking at, you know, videos and stuff, or just generally at home yourself, and when you turn it, it's that lovely, you know, really, really brown, dark, like real Instagrammable.
There you go. I got you.
Color on the beef.
Yeah.
You don't want that start. You want this kind of like off grey thing that if you got this now in a restaurant, you'd be looking at it like, what the hell is that?
Yeah.
This is what you want. You want it to be. This means that it's cooking nice and slow, and then what happens is that like the heat gradually gets to the center. So it does. A lot of that is in the resting, but in the cooking of it, the heat gets to the center slowly.
Okay.
Slowly. And then you want a food probe. So I bring the meat up to 43.
Okay.
If I'm cooking a medium rare. Grainne 43.
Grainne at 40 degree.
There you go.
Grainne at 40 degree.
And then I rest it up to, depending on the size. So it is a bit of a skill getting used to it, especially like food probes, because it depends on the thickness of the steak and the cut of the steak. So if you bring this up to 50, it could still rest up to medium rare because it's so thick.
Yeah.
Whereas if you get a much thinner steak, so it's like, say it's like half the width of this, you would actually cook it up to a lower temperature because it's still going to rest up to.
Okay, yeah. So
the
when it's off, it's resting to.
Yeah, because you know if the thinner it is, the faster it's resting and the closer.
I think that's where a lot of confusion comes from in terms of like what is resting when people are. You nailed it there with the 3 T's, but also resting onto.
Yeah, so I never rest onto a direct surface because if I was to put the steak on that tray now, because it's so hot, the metal would conduct the heat, and then it will keep cooking that particular part of the steak. So even when I'm resting on the rack, I still turn it because the juices flow down. So halfway through resting, you turn it once, so the juices go evenly. Yeah,
and it's actually super similar. I always go back to food being interlinked, and in terms of bread, when hot bread comes out of the oven, people just want to open it straight away, where I'm like, relax, allow it cook.
I do see like videos of people and
the knock,
people are going to be like, no, but like, you know, they just make a loaf of bread and they literally get, it must be scalding their hands, and they get it and they break it in half and there's steam coming out of it.
It's Instagrammable.
Is it though?
It is just Instagrammable.
Like, there's something that doesn't
so it's the same story. When you take meat off, you rest it. When we take bread out of the oven, we have to rest it, you know, because it's still cooking.
Yeah.
If you just left it in the oven for longer to allow it to cook, all you're building is a crust, too heavy of a crust to chew. So resting in the same with bread is exactly the same. So we're interlinked.
With any food. I mean, even a salad. And now I'm going to sound insane, and I haven't thought this through before I'm saying it, so we might need to cut this part out. Think of like with a salad, so you get the leaves and they're really crispy and fresh, and then you get dressing and you pour it on it. Still like nice and crispy and fresh, but if you leave it for a little bit and let the dressing soak in, the leaves, they go a little bit wilty, but I prefer that.
Wilty.
Right, I just had a salad rest.
A salad rest, you've had enough. And what do we got? What's all this deliciousness going on here?
So just going to do something really simple. So when the steak is cooked and resting, I've chopped up some shallots. shiitake mushrooms, red peppers, spring onions, chives. We have some garlic, some butter, and some Gruyere.
Yeah.
Literally going to throw in the shallots, the mushrooms, and the red peppers into the pan. A little bit of oil, butter, and then add in everything else. Grate some Gruyere over when we put it into the pittas. Throw it into the wood fire oven, and then that's it.
Lovely.
Really simple. And I'm just going to make like a little kind of naz sauce. So it's not like a meaty sauce. It's when you get the veg, throw in the butter when the pan is hot, and then deglaze it quickly with a bit of water, and then like, have you ever made a sauce of pasta with the pasta water?
Yeah.
Kind of the same principle.
Okay.
So it's nice and buttery kind of sauce.
And you were chopping some courgettes earlier on, and the first thing I said to you is why courgettes?
Yeah, sorry, there's some courgettes.
Don't forget about them wonderful
well.
in-season courgettes.
Courgettes, I just love courgettes. I love courgettes with beef, and also it's just nice to have a little bit of vibrancy, a little bit of green.
Colours.
And colours, but also like they're tasty veg.
Yeah, they are. Courgettes are wonderful.
Very underused as well.
Yeah, well,
you see them in restaurants, but not so much in anywhere else, really. Like.
But I think that's as well important when you're making a dish or cooking up a dish, and you eat with your eyes. So to see different variants of colour on the plate, and that you're consuming, it's an automatic win for me.
100%. So I'm gonna just take the temperature just now. It's like gonna be nowhere near.
Okay.
Have a guess.
I would say 28.
Oh.
You like that?
I would say 22.
Don't just take it out.
No, have a look. Oh no, it was 21.5.
Ah, she's done that before.
Yeah, I've been doing this for a while. Like,
21.5. So you're going to bring it up to
43.
43. Yeah. Nice. So back, forward, back
you
and
can
forth.
see now as I'm turning it, it's getting
the colour,
more and more of the crust in it. And don't worry, it's not going to burn as long as you don't have the oil super hot. But you just need to, when it kind of gets to this, you want to lower the temperature down of the pan. Or if it's on the barbecue, you bring it to, the barbecue's just a whole different one, you know, like a whole different conversation, because you'd have charcoal or you'd have a gas barbecue, but you want to have different heat spots on it as well. So you want to have, you know, the super hot part for the start of it, and then you want to, you know, slowly taper it back, so it's on less and less direct heat.
So if you have your barbecue and you're cooking at home and you have your hot, and you sort of scatter the coals from really hot and drag it out, so you would say start hot and bring it right off to cool.
Yeah, like start super hot and then bring it back until you take it off. Like, and then if there's, you know, a part of it, say like this part, the fat, that you want to render down more in a barbecue, you can just like sit it on the really hot bit or over it, just using the tongs, don't burn the arm off yourself. Or even a little blowtorch sometimes. If you get a blowtorch and just
look at that,
do this on the side of it, like it gives that really nice crispy effect without cooking the steak more as well. So usually now, like in a lot of things, I've seen people would like throw in a lot of butter and like herbs and stuff, which I'm going to do at the end, and then, you know, keep basting it. That's fine if you are, you know, kind of trained in how to do that. But, you know, if you're doing it at home and you're not like used to basting and cooking like that, I wouldn't recommend it, because the butter burns. And then, you know, I love brown butter, but not black butter. You know yourself.
That's, I think there's a fine line.
Very fine line between like
I hear you.
kind of nutty, you know, golden brown, and then like just black kind of burn.
But even like the way you did the steak, you're just constantly turning, rotating. I think people get confused when we say a very hot pan. And like, I think that word very hot pan, like the difference between your very hot and my very hot are completely different, where the smoking is too much. When the meat hits the pan and it just literally, it shouldn't sizzle. It was nice and gentle when you put it on. And it's wonderful.
It should be. It's like when you're doing duck breasting, you know, you'd always, a lot of times, just not use oil and have like a warm pan, or even a cold pan, and render down the skin slowly until the duck fat is cooking it. It's the same with, you know, steak, but you would have the pan a little bit hotter.
Yeah.
And you want to just keep turning it. And it's never going to have a good steak if it's not a good steak in the beginning. So it's all about the produce.
So better.
Always just get it from a good butcher. Like there's just no other way.
I always say it's like, get to know your butcher, go in and ask them where this is from, and don't be afraid. And that's where people, I feel, they struggle there. They go in and they stop before they want to ask the question, like, where's this meat come from, or where's the bread? And I always say the butcher, the baker, and the beer maker. Understanding them, making them your locals, and coming in and saying, hey, I'm looking for this, I have this many people, can you advise me? Because that's what butchers are there for.
And they love being asked.
Yeah.
Some people might feel like, oh, you know, it might be annoying them going in, they're busy. It's like butchers love it. Same with chefs, like when someone comes up and they eat something, they're like, that was amazing, how do you make it? It's like, you love that they loved it.
Yeah.
And you want them to be able to make it at home.
Well, it's the same as if something's really good or not so good. It's the same with 41. People coming in and going, I had your bread and I didn't really like it. And being able to answer that question.
And then
well,
you're like, you're barred.
Yeah. No, it's more to understand what they're looking for and try educate them in a weird way of saying, listen, rye bread goes with this goes with that, and understanding a dish and putting a dish together.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, food is for everyone. How's it looking? And you're finding the thickest part of the meat?
I am. Okay, yeah, sorry, that's actually something I didn't mention. You want to get close to the bone.
Yeah.
Sorry, this is reading high, but it's definitely not, I'm just not on the right part. We're going to say it's 43. So I'm going to throw in the butter now.
Yeah, nice.
And some garlic and some thyme.
Lovely.
So this is just to give it like a little bit more flavour. But for me, same with burgers, same Bujo. It's just beef. Our burgers are just beef. There's nothing else in them. And we just season them with a little bit of salt and pepper. And it's the same with steaks. I think if you need a lot on it, there's something wrong with the meat.
Yeah, definitely. Again, going back to speaking to the supplier, getting the best possible available.
Yeah, and you know, like with burgers, you know, we obviously getting the best blend.
Yeah.
We worked in our blend for 2 years to get, you know, the one that works, the absolute best for us and the way we're cooking it.
Yeah.
And it's just, if I, you know, was to go somewhere and get a steak that had loads of stuff, or any food, it just has piles and piles of stuff on it.
Yeah.
I'd be a bit
Too much.
wary of like, why is the flavour not good, or is it, you know?
Simple, it should be simple.
Yeah. It's always simple. So this, like, you can taste it.
Look at that.
A little bit. Yeah, this is like the money shot, like, this is the one you want.
This is where it's at.
When you'd be in the kitchen now, you'd be like, here, get a shot of this, get a nice spoon.
Look, I'm doing it really good,
Look at this would be great for Instagram. So I'm going to take this off now.
Lovely.
And we're going to start roasting it. We will. I'm just going to melt a little bit of butter. It's not super hot. I don't like, with things like shallots and mushrooms and peppers, you know, if you're stir frying or something, you get really, really, really hot oil, not butter. Throw it in and like, but I actually like it to cook a little bit, so it's actually, you know, so the shallots aren't super oniony, and so the mushrooms.
They mellow out a little tiny bit.
Yeah, it takes a little bit longer, and it's just the way I prefer to do it.
What's your favourite ingredient?
Ooh, what about like anything?
Hit me with it.
Are we including salt?
Yeah.
Salt.
Salt. Yeah, that's a really good one. That's a really good one. Yeah, that is. And I found that I was saying this as eating food, that sometimes, as you said, keeping things simple, and someone's put a lot of work to plating a dish, and then you sit down and eat the dish, and it's just not seasoned.
Yeah.
And it's like missing just the two simple things, seasoning.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, it's that letdown, you know?
And you know, I think another thing people are like, oh, when people ask for like salt and pepper in the restaurant, is that annoying? And you're like, no, not at all. Like, people have different levels of seasoning taste. Like, a lot of chefs would kind of be known for, you know, maybe normal people. Okay, we're
all normal.
Not weirdos like us would, you know, probably not like food as seasoned as a lot of chefs would.
Yeah.
So you work in the kitchen, you have to realise that, and you know, you obviously have to taper things down. But at home, like, oh my god, I would put so much cracked black pepper on everything, like so much that like most of the stuff I eat is just pepper. Like, I love pepper. I know I said salt is probably my favourite ingredient.
You said salt was your favourite, now you're backtracking.
No, it's salt still is. Like, if I had to choose in a world between like salt and pepper, it would have to be salt. Okay. But like freshly cracked black pepper is just...
It's delicious.
It is, like, especially on like cheese would be...
Cheese is probably up there, my best.
Often in work, like sometimes, you know, if it's just randomly, you just always do the, you know, which would... You'd be like, which would you rather live without, like gluten or dairy, or like cheese or bread, or what would you pick between cheese and bread?
Oh, I'd live without cheese.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah, bread. Key ingredient.
Yeah.
Think about it.
No, no.
You'll rush to say cheese, and then when you think about it, you'll be like, you know what?
I've thought, no, bread would be gone, gone.
Can't believe you just said that, Grainne.
Yeah, I'm sorry, like, but cheese, like.
So I'm going to pop these pittas in the oven, getting ready to go. So
I'm just going to turn this.
Nice. Lovely.
Put that there. That's so quick. They're super quick. How would people do them at home though? Like if they don't have
same idea. Rolling pin it out into a hot oven. Second it pops, pull it out. So all you're looking for is the bread to bake on the outside and pop. And again, also what we're looking is, you see here, see all you've done is you created the vacuum. There we go.
Can you do it over a flame?
Yeah, you can. Frying pan.
Yeah.
Super easy on a
or
frying
like
pan.
say if you have a gas hob at home, can you do it over that?
Hob, yeah. Everything works. It's just how much time you're willing to put into it.
Yeah, and how much you're kind of
How much is this? Can you wait? That's what it is. The trick is you have to wait. This is where people get carried away and they want to just dive straight in.
So you can see here, right? So we have everything's kind of sweated down real nice.
Yeah.
You can smell it. Like it just
really
smells like
getting all
ready
tons
for the
of different
steak.
flavors.
And there's a good bit of butter in there, and there's also some of the beef fat, some of the veg oil, and I just turned it up a little bit because I want it to be hot for this part.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna always just have a little bit of water to hand.
Why the water to the pan?
But you don't want to be carrying a big heavy cast iron pan over to the sink, like. Maybe do. And can you see the colour?
Yeah.
You see that kind of, like that's a sauce, that's a butter sauce. And it's got the flavour of all the other vegetables in here. And that's like really simple. So like everyone loves pepper sauce.
Yeah.
Everyone loves, a really nice, say, jus gras, or I love chimichurri. Like I put it on
chimichurri crazy. Yeah.
Everything.
I just chimichurri everything.
Everything. And it just goes so well with beef. But this, like just simple butter and some really nice veg. If you just have a really lovely, lovely, lovely piece of beef, some really amazing bread, this is all you need. And then just finish it.
Delicious.
Always throw in,
Textures.
Yeah, blast, and some chives. This is what you think if you're doing at home, the old like skill test on the chives. I'm gonna get real judged now. People be like, how finely are the chives?
How fine can you do the chives?
Yeah.
The chive test.
The chive test.
But even the colours, we spoke about colours later on, even the pan there now, look, and everything's popping.
And you want it like a little bit kind of, you don't want it, like it's no matter what, because it's all kind of like soft veg, it's going to be nice and juicy. Yeah. But you also want a little bit of the kind of butter juice as well. So,
not too much. I think sometimes, I think definitely where you can eat in different places and they have a lot of heavy on butter. I think butter, secondly, it coats your palate, and that's just it gone in a sense, everything after it.
Yeah, I think I love butter. No, there's a lot of ingredients now that I come to think of it that I'd be like, what's your favourite ingredient? And I love butter. Wouldn't cook without butter, but like you said, if you have a meal that's way too heavy in butter, you just kind of feel...
Yeah, it's heavy.
You're like, it's kind of nice to get it somewhat light. Like this is quite light. I know there's butter in it, but it's light. Okay, then with the steak. This is actually another thing that a lot of people don't really know, and like they get So when you're carving the steak, there's a way to carve it. And with all meat, and you probably know this yourself. So you have the bone here.
Yeah. And
the steak here. So thick part, thin part. This is always just fat, bone, and you always carve with the bone, as close as the bone as you can get. And we always serve the bone because I'd say 70% of people you find them gnawing on it at the end, which like.
It's perfectly okay in Clanbrassil House.
Absolutely, it's encouraged. All of the restaurants,
we encourage chewing the bone
encouraged.
in Clanbrassil House.
And a lot of people take them home for their dogs and stuff as well, so it's a nice little treat. And then you always cut so against the grain, and maybe I don't know. Is there a thing with bread with that as well?
Yeah.
So it's with the beef. It's if you go with the grain, and with any meat, it can be chewy. So with this, even if I cut it with the grain, it's not going to be chewy because it's a super tender, whiskey aged steak. But if you get other cuts, and this is for any type of meat, or even fish, you get it's chewy if you go the wrong way. So I'm going to do quite thin slices.
Yeah.
Just because I wanted to kind of. Get your just like real rustic kind of jam your fingers into it sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then
meat in.
Meat in.
Yeah. Oi. Lovely.
Kind of, you don't want it all straight and stuff. You want to kind of mix it around so you're getting
no problem.
the veg kind of flow into it.
Shaney Mac, this is like the pit of dreams.
I say, so you picked up a big large one there, did you? So a lot.
You know.
Right, and scoop in all your lovely gear from the pan.
Yeah. Delish. Absolutely.
Give you a little bit more.
Oh, thanks very much.
You're
looking after me. There you go.
Okay. And then we are going to nibble on that when it's in the oven. Yeah. I'm gonna grate some Gruyere on this.
Lovely, yeah.
And then we're gonna pop them back in.
Yeah, no problem.
Just to melt the cheese.
You fire it away. I'll get them back in there. So there you have it, Grainne's simple pitta. Let's see how it goes. Oh yeah, look at that.
That's the one.
Delish. Beautiful. Missing the beer, but good.
Absolutely. Beer. That is delicious. The beef.
It's really nice.
Super tender. But because it's well rested as well, you're not getting, soaking the pitta either.